They say the truth has perfect timing, it never arrives too early or too late, but exactly when you need it most. But what happens when that truth shatters everything you believed about love, loyalty, and the woman you were about to marry? What happens when the most important discovery of your life comes just 72 hours before you're supposed to say, I do? My name is Ryan Matthews. I'm 32 years old, and I work as a cybersecurity analyst for Morrison Tech Solutions in downtown Denver, Colorado. For the past 3 years, I thought I had my life perfectly mapped out, a successful career protecting companies from digital threats, a beautiful fiancée named Jessica whom I'd been with for 4 years, and a wedding planned for this coming Saturday that was supposed to be the beginning of our forever. But this isn't a story about forever. This is about the 72 hours that taught me the difference between loving someone and truly knowing them, between planning a future and living in denial. If this story resonates with you, please hit that like button and tell me in the comments where you're listening from. Your support means everything to me as I share the most difficult week of my life. Tuesday morning, 3 days before my wedding, I was sitting in my home office in our apartment in the Capitol Hill neighborhood, running final security tests for a client when my phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. Baby, running errands for the wedding. Might be out late with mom finishing last-minute details. Love you. Red heart. I smiled, feeling that familiar warmth that had defined our relationship for 4 years. Jessica Rodriguez was everything I'd dreamed of in a partner: intelligent, beautiful, ambitious in her work as a marketing coordinator for a local nonprofit, and seemingly as excited about our future together as I was. We'd met at a friend's barbecue in Boulder back in 2020, and the connection was immediate. She laughed at my terrible jokes about computer viruses, and I was captivated by her passion for helping underprivileged kids through her work. Within 6 months, she'd moved into my apartment. Within 2 years, I was shopping for engagement rings. The proposal had been perfect, during a hiking trip to Rocky Mountain National Park, overlooking Bear Lake as the sunrise painted the mountains gold. She'd cried, I'd cried, and for a moment the world felt absolutely right. Planning the wedding had been Jessica's domain. She had strong opinions about everything: the venue, a beautiful historic mansion in Cherry Creek, the flowers, white roses and eucalyptus, the guest list, 150 people, and the menu, elegant but not pretentious. I was happy to let her take the lead, focusing on my work while she handled the details that seemed to energize her. You're so lucky to have found someone who knows exactly what she wants, my best man, Marcus, had told me during our bachelor party the previous weekend. Most guys have to navigate months of indecision. He was right. Jessica always knew what she wanted, and she pursued it with the kind of focused determination I admired. It was one of the things I loved most about her. That Tuesday evening, I decided to surprise her. The wedding stress had been intense, and I thought she might appreciate her favorite Thai takeout and a quiet evening together. I called Bangkok Garden and ordered pad Thai, green curry, and mango sticky rice, our usual comfort meal. When I arrived at her mother's house in Littleton around 8 p.m., Jessica's car wasn't in the driveway. Mrs. Rodriguez answered the door with a confused expression. Ryan, honey, what are you doing here? I brought dinner for Jessica. Is she still out running errands? Mrs. Rodriguez's confusion deepened. Jessica? She hasn't been here today. I thought she was with you. A cold feeling settled in my stomach. She texted me this morning saying she'd be out with you handling wedding details. We finished all the last-minute things yesterday. There's nothing left to do. I stood on the doorstep holding bags of Thai food, trying to process this information. Where was Jessica if she wasn't with her mother? And why had she lied about it? As a cybersecurity analyst, I'd spent years understanding how digital footprints reveal truths that people try to hide. That night, lying awake while Jessica slept beside me, she'd returned home around 11 p.m. with a story about helping her sister with something. I made a decision that would change everything. I waited until Jessica left for work Wednesday morning, then sat down at my computer with a cup of coffee and the methodical mindset I used for investigating security breaches. Jessica and I shared a phone plan, which meant I had access to detailed billing records. I pulled up our account and began examining her call and text logs from the past month. What I found made my blood run cold. Starting about 6 weeks ago, right around the time wedding planning had intensified, there was a phone number that appeared with increasing frequency. Calls that lasted 30, 40, sometimes 60 minutes. Text exchanges that happened daily, sometimes multiple times per day. The number wasn't saved in my phone, and it wasn't familiar. But the pattern was unmistakable. This was someone Jessica was in regular, intimate contact with, someone important enough to talk to for hours at a time. I ran the number through a reverse lookup service. The result hit me like a physical blow: Derek Sullivan, 34, registered address in downtown Denver. Derek Sullivan. I knew that name. Derek was Jessica's ex-boyfriend from college, the one she'd dated for 2 years before we met. She'd mentioned him occasionally in the early days of our relationship, always in past tense, always with the dismissive tone you use for old history that no longer matters. We ended things amicably, she'd said once when his name came up. We just wanted different things. He was more of a free spirit, and I was ready to settle down and build something real. But according to these phone records, Derek wasn't history at all. He was very much present in Jessica's life, and had been for weeks. My hands shook as I cross-referenced the timing of their conversations with Jessica's schedule. The long calls happened during her lunch breaks, on her drive home from work, and late in the evening after I'd gone to bed. The pattern of communication was intimate, consistent, secretive. I thought about all the evenings Jessica had claimed to be working late, all the weekend errands that seemed to take longer than they should, all the times she'd been vague about her plans. With growing dread, I opened our shared Google account and checked the location history on Jessica's phone. The feature was enabled by default, something most people forgot about but which created a detailed record of everywhere their device had been. The data told a story I wasn't prepared for. Jessica's phone had been to Derek's apartment building 15 times in the past 6 weeks. The visits were strategic: during lunch hours when I was at work, on Saturday afternoons when I was at the gym, on evenings when she claimed to be out with friends or handling wedding preparations. But the location that made me physically sick was from the previous Thursday night. Jessica had told me she was attending a bachelorette party for her coworker Amanda. According to her phone's GPS data, she'd spent 4 hours at Derek's apartment that night, from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. I called Amanda's number from Jessica's contact list, my heart pounding as I prepared to confirm what I already knew. Ryan. How are you? Getting excited for Saturday? Amanda, I had a quick question about last Thursday night. Jessica said she was at your bachelorette party. There was a pause. Last Thursday? I didn't have a bachelorette party last Thursday. That's not until next month. The floor seemed to drop out from under me. Are you sure? Positive. Is everything okay? I ended the call without answering and sat staring at my computer screen, the digital evidence of my fiancée's betrayal spread out like pieces of a puzzle I hadn't wanted to solve. Jessica wasn't just lying about where she was going. She was creating elaborate cover stories, using mutual friends as unwitting alibis, and maintaining what appeared to be a full-scale affair while simultaneously planning our wedding. The cruelest irony was that she was using her wedding planning as cover for her infidelity. All those errands, and meetings with vendors, and last-minute details, how many of them were actually hours spent with another man? I looked at our wedding invitation on the kitchen counter, with its elegant script announcing our joyful union this coming Saturday. In 72 hours, I was supposed to stand in front of 150 people and promise to love, honor, and cherish a woman who had been systematically deceiving me for weeks. But I wasn't done investigating yet. Jessica was careful about her digital presence, no suspicious photos on Instagram, no revealing Facebook posts. But Derek was less cautious. I found his Instagram account easily. His profile was public, filled with photos of craft beer, hiking trips, and local Denver events. Scrolling through his recent posts, I found what I was looking for. 3 weeks ago, a photo of an expensive dinner at Guard and Grace, one of Denver's most upscale steakhouses. The caption read, "Perfect evening with my perfect girl Red Heart." The photo showed 2 wine glasses and 2 plates, clearly a romantic dinner for 2. 2 weeks ago, a hiking photo from Mount Evans with the caption, "Great day exploring with my favorite adventure partner." Some people are worth waiting for. 1 week ago, a photo of champagne glasses in what looked like a hotel room, with the caption, "Celebrating new beginnings." New beginnings. While I was confirming final headcounts with our wedding caterer, my fiancée was celebrating new beginnings with her ex-boyfriend in a hotel room. I screenshot everything, building a digital case file with the methodical precision I used for work investigations. Phone records, location data, social media posts, taken individually, each piece might have an innocent explanation. Together, they painted an undeniable picture of betrayal. That evening, Jessica came home with wedding favors, small boxes of chocolates with our names and wedding date printed on ribbons. "I think these turned out perfectly," she said, spreading them across our dining table with genuine excitement. "The guests are going to love them." I watched her arrange the favors with care, this woman I'd planned to marry in 60 hours, and felt like I was looking at a stranger. How could she stand there discussing wedding favors while conducting an affair? How could she smile and talk about our guests' happiness while betraying everything our relationship was supposed to represent? "They're beautiful," I managed to say, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. That night, as Jessica slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling and made a decision. I wasn't going to confront her with accusations or emotional outbursts. I was going to handle this the way I handled security breaches at work, with strategy, documentation, and perfect timing. If Jessica wanted to play games with the truth, I was going to show her what happened when someone tried to deceive a cybersecurity expert. Thursday morning, 48 hours before our wedding, I put my plan into motion. I called Jessica from work around 10 a.m., keeping my voice casual and loving. "Hey beautiful, I have great news. Marcus surprised me with tickets to the Rockies game tonight, apparently they're box seats from his company. Would you mind if I went? I know we were supposed to have a quiet evening together." "Of course, baby. You should definitely go. You've been working so hard, and you deserve a fun night with Marcus before the wedding. I'll probably just stay in and do face masks or something. You're the best. I love you. Love you too. Have fun at the game." There was no baseball game. Marcus was spending the evening with his girlfriend. But Jessica didn't know that. Instead, I drove to Derek's apartment building in downtown Denver and positioned myself in a coffee shop across the street with a clear view of the entrance. At 6:47 p.m., Jessica's silver Honda Civic pulled into the parking garage. My fiancée emerged 5 minutes later, wearing the blue dress I'd bought her for her birthday, carrying an overnight bag, and looking happier than I'd seen her in weeks. She walked into Derek's building like she belonged there, like she'd done it many times before. I sat in that coffee shop for 3 hours, drinking overpriced lattes and watching the building where my future wife was betraying our relationship. At 9:53 p.m., I saw them together for the first time. Derek came out first, tall, athletic, with the kind of casual confidence that suggested someone who'd never doubted his place in the world. Jessica appeared moments later, taking his hand as they walked to his car. Seeing them together was different from reading phone records or looking at location data. This was visceral, immediate, undeniably real. The way she looked at him, the way she touched his arm, the way she laughed at something he said, this wasn't just physical infidelity. This was emotional betrayal of the deepest kind. I followed them to a wine bar in the Highlands neighborhood, staying far enough back to avoid detection. Through the window, I watched them share appetizers and lean across the table toward each other with the body language of people completely absorbed in each other's company. At one point, Derek reached across the table and brushed a strand of hair from Jessica's face, and she smiled at him with pure happiness. It was the same smile she'd given me when I proposed, the same smile I'd thought was reserved for me alone. I drove home that night with a clarity I hadn't felt in months. Tomorrow was Friday, the day before our wedding. It was time to end this charade. Friday morning, 24 hours before our wedding, I woke up before Jessica and prepared for the most important conversation of my life. I made coffee, arranged printed copies of phone records, location data, and screenshots on our dining table, and waited for her to wake up. Jessica emerged from the bedroom at 7:30 a.m., wearing my old college t-shirt and looking content in the way people do when they think their secrets are safe. "Morning, baby. How was the game last night?" "There was no game, Jessica." Something in my tone made her freeze. She looked at me more carefully, then noticed the papers spread across the table. "What's all this?" "Sit down. We need to talk." She approached the table slowly, her expression shifting from confusion to recognition to something that looked like relief mixed with terror. 6 weeks of phone calls, I said, pointing to the highlighted phone records. 15 visits to his apartment. Elaborate lies about bachelorette parties and wedding errands. Hotel rooms and romantic dinners and celebrating new beginnings while planning our wedding. Jessica sank into a chair, staring at the evidence of her betrayal laid out in black and white. "Ryan, I can explain." "Can you explain this?" I showed her Derek's Instagram photo from the hotel room. "New beginnings, Jessica. The night before we were supposed to finalize our seating chart." Her face crumpled, and for a moment I thought she might cry. But instead, something else happened. The mask she'd been wearing for weeks finally slipped, and I saw something I'd never seen before: defiance. "Yes," she said quietly. "I've been seeing Derek." The simple admission hit harder than all the digital evidence combined. "For how long?" "It started about 2 months ago. He reached out on Facebook, said he was moving back to Denver and wanted to catch up. I thought it would just be coffee, closure from our college relationship. But it wasn't just coffee. No. It wasn't. What followed was the most honest conversation Jessica and I had ever had, and it destroyed every assumption I'd made about our relationship. "I never stopped loving him," she said, the words coming out in a rush as if she'd been holding them back for years. "When we broke up in college, it wasn't because we didn't love each other. It was because we wanted different things at different times. He wanted to travel, to be free, to explore the world. I wanted stability, security, a plan for the future. So you settled for me." "I didn't settle. I loved you, Ryan. I still love you." But when Derek came back, when I saw him again, all those feelings I thought I'd buried came rushing back. "While you were planning our wedding. I tried to ignore it. I tried to do the right thing. But being with him felt like coming home to a part of myself I'd forgotten existed." The cruelest part was that I could hear the truth in her voice. This wasn't a casual affair or a moment of weakness. This was a woman who had discovered she was about to marry the wrong person, but had been too cowardly to face that truth until she was caught. "Why didn't you just call off the wedding?" I asked. "Why go through with this elaborate deception?" "Because I was scared. Because canceling a wedding 3 days beforehand seemed impossible. Because I thought maybe I could have both, the security of our life together and the passion I felt with Derek. I thought I could figure it out after the wedding." "You thought you could figure out your affair after marrying me?" She had the grace to look ashamed. "I know how that sounds. I know how selfish and horrible it was. But I was confused and scared and I didn't know what to do. So you chose to lie to everyone who loves you while planning a wedding that was supposed to be about honesty and commitment." "Yes. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Ryan. But sorry wasn't enough to undo months of deception. Sorry wasn't enough to repair the trust that had been systematically destroyed. Sorry wasn't enough to justify the humiliation I was about to face." We called off the wedding that afternoon. The logistics were brutal: 150 guests to notify, deposits to forfeit, vendors to cancel. Jessica's mother cried when we told her. My parents were supportive but clearly devastated. The wedding party was shocked, confused, and unsure how to respond to the sudden implosion of what everyone had assumed was a solid relationship. What should we tell people? Jessica asked as we divided up phone calls to wedding guests. Tell them the truth. Tell them you're in love with someone else. To her credit, Jessica didn't ask me to lie for her or create a mutual narrative that would save face. She took responsibility for the calls to her family and friends, while I handled my side of the guest list. The conversations were awkward, painful, and sometimes angry. Jessica's Aunt Maria hung up on her. My college roommate asked if this was some kind of joke. Jessica's maid of honor wanted to know if there was any chance we could work things out. There's no working this out, I told anyone who asked. She's been having an affair for 2 months while planning our wedding. By Friday evening, our beautiful wedding had been reduced to a series of cancelled contracts and disappointed relatives. The venue was notified, the flowers were cancelled, the cake was given to a local shelter. Jessica packed her belongings that night, moving in with her sister temporarily while she figured out her next steps. As she loaded boxes into her car, she turned to me one last time. I want you to know that I never meant for it to happen this way. I really did love you, Ryan. I loved our life together. But you loved him more. Yes. I loved him more. It was the most honest thing she'd said in months. Saturday arrived, what should have been my wedding day. Instead of putting on a tuxedo and preparing to marry the woman I'd loved for 4 years, I spent the morning canceling my honeymoon to Maui and returning wedding gifts to department stores. Marcus came over with beer and pizza, not saying much but providing the kind of steady friendship that reminds you not everyone in your life is a liar. You dodged a bullet, he said finally, as we sat on my couch watching baseball instead of celebrating at a reception. Better to find out now than after you were legally bound to her. He was right, but it didn't make the betrayal hurt less. The woman I'd planned to spend my life with had been living a double life for months, using our wedding as cover for an affair, planning our future while rekindling her past. The financial cost was significant, we lost most of our deposits, had to pay cancellation fees, and I was stuck with an engagement ring that suddenly felt like evidence of my own naive trust. The emotional cost was harder to calculate. But the strangest thing was the relief I felt underneath all the anger and hurt. For weeks, I'd sensed something was wrong without being able to identify it. Jessica had seemed distracted, distant, like she was going through the motions of wedding planning without being emotionally present. Now I understood why. She hadn't been planning our wedding, she'd been planning her escape. As a cybersecurity professional, I understood the power of information and the importance of protecting yourself from future threats. Jessica had betrayed my trust completely, but she'd also underestimated my ability to uncover digital deceptions. Over the next few weeks, as Jessica moved in with Derek and began posting happy photos of their rekindled romance on social media, I made sure our mutual friends understood exactly what had happened. I didn't need to embellish or exaggerate. The phone records, location data, and timeline of deception spoke for themselves. Jessica had conducted a systematic affair while planning our wedding, lied to both families for months, and only told the truth when confronted with undeniable evidence. The Denver social scene is smaller than people realize, especially in professional circles. Word spread quickly about what Jessica had done, and the response was swift and unforgiving. Her reputation for honesty and reliability, important qualities in nonprofit marketing, took a significant hit. Derek, meanwhile, discovered that dating someone who had cheated on their fiancée came with its own complications. Mutual friends questioned whether someone capable of such elaborate deception could be trusted in any relationship. If she could lie to you for months while planning a wedding, what makes Derek think she won't lie to him? One friend observed. I didn't take pleasure in their social difficulties, but I also didn't feel sorry for them. They had chosen each other knowing the cost, and that cost included the judgment of people who valued honesty and commitment. 6 months after my wedding day that never was, I found myself in a better place than I'd been in years. The apartment that Jessica and I had shared became mine alone, and I discovered I enjoyed the solitude and the freedom to rebuild my life according to my own values. I threw myself into work with renewed energy, taking on challenging cybersecurity projects that utilized the investigation skills I'd refined during my personal crisis. There was something deeply satisfying about protecting other people from digital threats and deception. I also started dating again, slowly and carefully. The experience with Jessica had taught me to pay attention to inconsistencies, to trust my instincts when something felt wrong, and to value transparency above all else in relationships. I've learned to verify trust instead of just offering it blindly, I told my therapist during one of our sessions. It's not about being paranoid or suspicious, it's about being realistic about human nature and protecting yourself appropriately. The digital age has made deception easier in some ways. It's simple to create fake stories, false alibis, and alternative narratives. But it's also made deception more detectable for those who know how to read the signs. Jessica had underestimated the digital trail she was leaving, just like many people underestimate how much their devices reveal about their real activities and priorities. In trying to have both security and passion, she'd lost both. A year later, I met Sarah Chen at a cybersecurity conference in Austin. She was a forensic accountant who specialized in financial fraud investigations, and we bonded over our shared appreciation for truth-telling through data analysis. Our relationship developed slowly, built on transparency and mutual respect rather than grand romantic gestures or passionate declarations. We talked openly about our past relationships, our goals, our fears, and our non-negotiables. I need complete honesty, I told her early in our dating relationship. I've learned that I can handle almost any truth, but I can't handle deception. Same here, she replied. My work has taught me that financial infidelity usually indicates deeper trust issues. I need a partner who values integrity as much as I do. When Sarah and I got engaged 18 months later, the proposal was simple and honest, no elaborate staging, no social media performance, just two people who had chosen each other with full knowledge of what they were getting into. Our wedding was small, intimate, and completely authentic. 40 people who genuinely cared about us, vows we wrote ourselves and meant completely, and a celebration that reflected our actual values rather than social expectations. As I stood at the altar watching Sarah walk toward me, I thought about Jessica and felt grateful rather than bitter. Her betrayal had taught me what I really needed in a partner, and it had prepared me to recognize real love when it appeared. My name is Ryan Matthews, and this is the story of how the worst betrayal of my life became the foundation for the best relationship I've ever had. Jessica's affair could have destroyed my ability to trust, could have made me cynical about love and commitment, could have turned me into someone who investigates partners out of paranoia rather than building relationships on mutual respect. Instead, it taught me that trust should be earned through consistent actions over time, that love without honesty is just elaborate self-deception, and that sometimes the most painful experiences are also the most educational. Jessica and Derek's relationship lasted about 8 months after my cancelled wedding. According to mutual friends who still kept in touch, they discovered that a relationship built on betraying other people creates a foundation of suspicion and insecurity. Derek couldn't fully trust someone who had cheated while planning another man's wedding, and Jessica couldn't respect someone who had participated in breaking up an engagement. They separated quietly, without the drama that had marked the end of Jessica's relationship with me. She moved to Portland for a fresh start, and Derek relocated to his family's home in Phoenix. Both learned, I hope, something about the real cost of deception. As for me, I learned that the truth really does have perfect timing, it arrives exactly when you need it, even when you don't want to hear it. 3 days before my wedding was the perfect time to discover that I was about to marry someone who didn't share my values about honesty and commitment. The digital age has given us new tools for both deception and detection, but the fundamental human needs for truth, trust, and authentic connection remain unchanged. Love that requires lies to survive isn't love at all, it's convenience wearing romance's costume. The strongest relationships are built on transparency, not passion. The most reliable partners are those who choose honesty even when it's difficult, not those who choose temporary happiness over long-term integrity. Sometimes the most important thing you can do is trust your instincts, investigate inconsistencies, and refuse to marry someone who's already betraying you before you even say, "I do." Thank you for listening to this story about love, betrayal, and the power of digital truth. If this resonated with you, please hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever discovered a partner's deception through their digital footprint? How did you handle the confrontation? I read every comment and appreciate your support more than you know. Until next time, remember, trust should be verified, not just offered. Your instincts matter. And sometimes the worst day of your life is actually the first day of your better life.